engage with us. We will take a drive through Jiso in the Shanti region where the by-elections happened. We will also go and talk about a bit of Dumso, whether it's ending or not ending. And then we'll talk about the Ghanaian worker. All of it put together. And nobody admitted that there was Dumso. Suddenly we are being told that Dumso will end. Is it not a miracle? It's
very interesting.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, very interesting. We went from there's no Dumso. At some points it was Doom CACA, localized faults, transformer issues, everything and anything but Dumso. But I think we finally have had to.
We have come to agree
that there is Dumso.
But have we admitted who is playing with part in Dumso?
All we know now is that there is Dumso. What the real issues are, I don't know whether officialdom has come out to say. I mean, we had PURC enumerating a few issues. We know, of course, IPPs are also owed huge sums of monies. I don't know if there's been any advancement on that particular front. I mean, I'm sure there are also transformer issues. That isn't completely ruled out. But that also goes back to money. If there's adequate or sufficient funds, then these transformers will be regularly looked at, taken care of, updated, and so on and so forth. So a myriad of problems surrounding this Dumso issue. But the consensus is that there is Dumso. And this idea that it's been resolved, let's be serious. Go on social media this morning. And under that post, I told you, Dennis Miracle Abuaji, good morning to you. He posted something there.
And modern day killer of Animal Farm.
He's posted something there on his Twitter or on X, and everybody who doesn't have lights is responding to that tweet. So Dumso has not been resolved. I didn't have lights. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? So please, Dennis and cohorts, we beg you. Please.
Well, it's 25 minutes after 8. Here's President Akufo-Addo. Some 10 months ago, listen to him. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, our beloved president.
I want to reassure all of you that my government will continue to work towards keeping the lights on, in spite of the global dynamics of energy pricing, because the alternative is not an option. We are not going back to Dumso. We'll leave that to President Mahama. I'm convinced and confident that our nation is on the right path. Despite our challenges and with God on our side, I have the firm belief that we shall succeed in this enterprise.
The voices you heard smiling at the background are that of Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh and Henry Quartey, the man who the president would send to go and tell chiefs to get up and join the national anthem.
Was interim minister?
Yes, interim minister. Well, I will go to the president now. Listen to him.
2023 to March 2024, out of the outstanding Tier 2 contributions of 993.9 million cedis, we have agreed with organized labor on a payment plan to pay the balance in 3 equal tranches by August 2024, this year, through a combination of cash payments and government papers. I'm also happy to bring to you notice that notwithstanding arrears of Tier 1 SNIT contributions covering the period 2010 to 2021, we have cleared the outstanding principal amount of 2.46 billion cedis owed by government to the trust through securitization in April 2024. Lest we forget, a considerable chunk of these arrears was contracted during the period of the predecessor Mills Mahama-led governments, arrears they made no efforts whatsoever to clear. Chairperson, Secretary General, it will interest you to note that ILO Convention 190 on violence and harassment at work has been tabled before Cabinet. However, this decision has been taken for a committee of Cabinet to undertake further comprehensive consultations on it before it is retabled before Cabinet for action to be taken on it. Hopefully, this should be very soon. As your president, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all Ghanaians for their patience and understanding during recent temporary challenges with the electricity supply across the country. Over the period, the issues surrounding maintenance of transformers and gas supply have been successfully resolved, resulting in a sufficient improvement in power supply reliability. Indeed, over the past few days, we have witnessed stable electricity supply across the country, with no load shedding reported anywhere yesterday. For the past 7 years, we have worked tirelessly to keep the lights on, and I am confident that the unfortunate era of doomsday will not return. Chairperson, Secretary General, as we stand on the threshold of a new era in human evolution, marked by breathtaking technological advancement, rapid globalization, and evolving economic landscapes, it is imperative that we chart a course that ensures prosperity and opportunity for all our citizens. The future of work looms large on our horizon, presenting both challenges and unprecedented possibilities. Government envisions a future where our economy flourishes as a first world powerhouse, characterized by innovation, productivity, and inclusivity. Achieving this vision requires a concerted effort from all stakeholders, with organized labor playing a pivotal role in shaping our journey forward. In the face of automation and technological disruption, we must ensure that no one is left behind. This means championing policies that promote lifelong learning, upskilling and reskilling initiatives to empower our workforce for the jobs of tomorrow. Moreover, organized labor must be active partners in fostering a conducive business environment that attracts investment, stimulates entrepreneurship, and drives sustainable economic growth. By forging constructive partnerships between government employers and workers, we can create the conditions for a thriving private sector that delivers quality employment opportunities and wealth creation in conditions of social justice. The future of work holds immense promise for our nation, but it also presents formidable challenges that demand our collective resolve. In conclusion, let us use this great occasion of this year's May Day celebration to reaffirm our commitment to peace, unity, and progress. Let us harness the collective strength of workers and social partners to ensure that the 2024 elections prove to be testaments to the resilience and maturity of Ghanaian democracy. Together, I have no doubt that we can overcome any challenge, surmount any obstacle, and build a brighter future for generations to come. I thank you for your attention and congratulations to all prospective awardees. Long live May Day. Long live trade union solidarity. Long live organized labor. Long live Ghana.
3FM 92.7, Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Good morning, Mr. Johnny.
Hello, madam. How are you?
Mr. Johnny, we are not fine.
Oh.
We are not fine at all, at all. All we are just saying that they should bring us a timetable. It's like a school year. Like, I'm not even lying. See, I saw ice kinky.
Okay.
And ice kinky, their bottles 100. Because my colleague now in the phone, me end no, not like you.
Right.
So she brought her to my place. And she no mudum life.
Oh.
Now say,
I bet fermenting. I bet say.
and we have children. Or baba kum or baba kum na yeshem. It is a big day. She said, "I did chimpa na yem." Why? None of my is here. None of my is ill. We could just go in fashion. That is so like let's compare you. Why? Why? We are killing them so. Hey.
3FM.
You have to go in place like this in our own country. Why? Are they going to look at their children to be ill? I'll meet me next year. Oh, Charlie.
I'm sorry about your situation. I'm sorry. Very sorry. I've just played for you the president's voice and that of a disturbed listener who called us some 2 days ago, Helen, and she was worried about her business. Now, yesterday the president said Dumso will not come back. And we have never admitted that there's been Dumso, but Vice President, President, everybody who's now speaking, including government communicators, are now telling us that, oh, well, it will be a thing of the past. This was on the back of Herbert Crapper's 10-day, timeline. Today's day was 6, 7. You've been counting.
I've been counting down.
Yeah.
I had lost track.
So we are counting to make sure that we actually have this. And you see, in crisis management, what I learned in school is there has to be honesty. I don't see the honesty in all of what you say, because if what you say never existed, now is going to end. Did it exist or did it not exist?
That's right.
It's a simple question that must be answered. And you see, sometimes when our leaders speak to us, I think they need to credit us with some knowledge and to us to think that, yes, these people I'm speaking to are not novices, but they understand what's going on. Because as we speak right now, people have been under our stream telling us that their lights are off.
Correct.
So what exactly was the president talking about? Well, I'm not qualified to have that conversation. I have two gentlemen who joined me to do that conversation. Courage Nobi is with the Movement for Change. He is the Director of Communications. Also, Dr. Sharif Mahmud is a finance and accounting professor. He is also a member of the NDC's Economic and Finance Committee. Doc, Prof, good morning. Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, thank you. Good
Always
to have delighted for you having me.
Great. Courage, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, my brother.
Great.
Courage is innovating.
To my good old friend, Dr. Khalid, in the studios, as well as Helen and the entire production team. I'm good, except that I was greeted at 6 a.m. with Dumso.
The president says the lights, Dumso will not return, and then the lights are coming back on. So what are you talking about, really?
Well, I mean, there's what the president says, and there's our lived reality. The president said that in 100 days, Ghana was going to be Accra, was going to be the cleanest city in Africa. And we continue to see Accra as it is today, whether it is that. The president told us that he will protect the public purse. The evidence is there for all to see. The president told us that, if you are coming into his administration because you think that it's an opportunity to make money, then you have to have a change of mind. But we see the largesse that appointees live in, some of whom were in the trenches with 6 months into office, 1 year into office, and they are buying cars and building houses and buying estates. So the president has said many things, majority of which does not reflect the facts on grounds or our lived reality. So president can say, and you see, the challenges of development are not things that you can wish away with rhetoric. It takes real work. It takes putting your hands to the plow and making sure that you enact the policies and put together the team that has the capacity and, most importantly, the integrity to deliver what you've spoken about.
Right.
We've not seen that in many sectors of the economy, particularly in the area of jobs and creating wealth for the citizens. apart from a few people who are privatizing the public wealth that we have. Our forebears, Dr. Nkrumah and the like, took and saved huge tracts of land, whether for CSIR or for atomic energy development or for aviation development and all of that. What have we seen, both on the NDC and NPP? They will tell that to rezoning and repurposing the land. And then, under the guise of doing that, they share it among themselves with pittance. I mean, paying very low prices for it. This is what we are seeing. This is the reality. You know, privatizing public wealth and impoverishing the general population, you know, to enrich self. I don't think that is what Ghanaians deserve. I do not think that's what Ghanaians queue to vote for. And so when you have done that for practically 7 years, and then in your last May Day or Workers' Day speech, you know, you are still talking about potential. Then I look at you, and I'm like, is this man really, does he know what he's talking about? In the 7 years that you've managed this country, how have you turned that potential into reality? I thought that was what the president was going to tell Ghanaians. That when I was coming, I said that, and together with my running mates whom I appointed because of the economy, who had worked at the Bank of Ghana, and that there was money in this country, he didn't have to borrow. So I'm going to account to you how I have not borrowed much and how I have turned around the fortunes of this country by tapping into the potential and turned it into lived reality for you, the workers. The average Ghanaian worker is far worse off today than he was in 2016. Johnny, check the exchange rate alone. If you were earning the equivalent of, say, $2,000 in 2016, it is just about $1,000 or $900 today. What has been the rate of increment in salaries? Salaries have dwarfed. Meanwhile, inflation keeps skyrocketing. We have seen it all the way to 54%.
Okay, I hear you. Let me bring in Dr. Professor Sharif. Prof, the president insists that the era of doom saw under your watch, and there are a few of the sound here that plays it. Well, let's leave it for John Mahama and his people. Now, this is where we are.
Yeah.
The president says one thing, and then right under that post, the people say, Bosu, slow down.
It's not about the people.
What do you say?
It's not about the people or what the people say. For me, there's a worrying trend, which I think Ghanaians accommodated for far too long, and it's way too late now to stop it.
Really?
The president has taken everyone for granted, right? And decides to do politics when he wants to. What has this got to do with Mahama? So the comparison to say that, okay, we leave Dumso for Mahama, that's very cheeky, right? When yesterday was May Day, it was meant to be a public holiday.
Right.
I woke up 6 a.m. to Dumso and had to drive out to work out in a coffee shop. So the whole day I was working in a coffee shop.
Because the home was hot and dark and everything.
Yes, I had work to catch up on. I needed the internet, I needed electricity. You know, but on my way to the coffee shop, a friend reminded me of something very fundamental. I had just bought a plant, a genset,
right,
a few days ago. So I was lamenting about the price of the genset. And what she said to me on the phone was, and the cost of fuel price also skyrocketing. To my mind, the genset was just my solution. I didn't even think about the fuel
that was going to power it.
That was going to power it. But that was a fundamental statement, right? So here we have high increase cost of living. We have prices of fuel going over the roof. Then we have doomsday in addition. So it's a compounded problem that we have. And yet still, they try to do propaganda with these things. As you said, we are in crisis mode. Economy is in crisis.
Right.
Education in crisis. Healthcare in crisis. Energy in crisis. And yet, the government does not have the humility to admit that these are the happenings and we will fix them. When are you going to fix them? Leaving it to Mahama. Is it an admittance that he's going to hand over power to Mahama?
Well, I said that he has solved it. So we won't return. So if there's any reference.
No, but how many megawatts of electricity in the last 7 to 8 years has this government added? Let's leave that. Amari plant, they spend millions, $30+ million to move it to Kumasi, technically. Is that what it should be doing? Moving plants. Could this 30 million not have gone into other investment in the energy sector? Could it not have gone to defray cost of IPPs we owe? Right? And you find that the crisis in and of itself is there's one of leadership as well. Why do I say this? The board of ECG, we had the board chair resigning. Then you turn around to appoint a deputy minister who is in charge of power or electricity to be board chair.
Well, he says in 10 days.
In 10 days.
Power will be fully restored.
Right. And the excuses they give is
Do you believe the 10-day?
Well, I don't want to bank my hopes on it. And I wouldn't put my head to the guillotine on that. But you look at all of these issues. When you say the excuses they give, we owe independent power providers. We have old transformers. But look at the mandate of ECG. They are meant to replace old transformers. They are meant to fix non-functional transformers.
That's right.
Right? So of all the expenditure in the CSR of motorbikes they are donating to police service, which is not priority service, right? Why are they not providing decent electricity? And the interesting thing is that back in the day, this used to be postpaid. Now it's prepaid.
So your money is there.
We've paid for the service.
So supply, deliver.
I think Ghanaians have been very accommodating of this government.
But what else could they do?
No, I'll come to that. Look, when we're in energy crisis, people went on the streets to demonstrate. Now we are in crisis. They are pleading with the government to at least give them a timetable. Johnny, you and I can remember back in the day when it was all VRA stuff and power was, distributed or rationed in a way. Information vans went around communities. That is respect for the dignity of your customers. Went around communities and would announce, because there was no internet at the time, right? Television was limited, radio was limited, but you had information vans, traveling around nook and cranny of communities, informing people that there's going to be lights out. These are they're going to be power outages. These are the schedules for the rest of the week. When we saw the information van as kids, we ran around to just listen to what it has to say because
your Minister for Energy says bring your own timetable if you think you have need for one.
But I mean, the brazen disrespect that this government has given the good people of Ghana as far as energy is concerned. They are government of records, low-hanging records. They just want to say, okay, well, under our reign, this never happened. It's the same thing Ken did with the economy and got elevated to the presidency.
Let me go to data. And Courage, I want you to... Oh, sorry, we lost Courage. Please raise him back on the line. I want you to pay attention to this, Doc, Prof, as well. So we have a source who shares the condition sheet, control center of how much power we are generating. Yeah. And they take the details at 7 a.m., 2 p.m., and 10 p.m. every day. This is from 10 p.m. yesterday. Gas, Akosombo, they're running 6 units, that's 922 megawatts. GS, 4 units, that's 145. TAPCO, 3 units, 257. TICO G4 and G5, 215. TP47, 1 unit, 101. Senate is running 0 unit, no power generated. Siemens is running 0 unit, no power generated.
Why are they running 0 units?
Well, I'm coming. I don't know. T66 is running 0 unit, no power generated. Asogli is running 9 units, 461 megawatts of power generated. Bui Power, no power generated. Bui BU54, G1, G2, G4, 102 megawatts of power. Bone Thermal, 1 unit is running 102 megawatts. Wamaso Thermal, 6 units is running 142 megawatts of power. And then Sen Power, 2 units running 169 megawatts of power. Car Power, 18 units, 324. AXA, 4 units, 60. Amandi, 2, 156. Bridge Power, 0. They're not running any power. They're not giving us anything. Calio Solar, 0 as well. Gensa Power, 28 megawatts. CIE, 5 megawatts. CEB, 83 megawatts. And Sonabel, 156 megawatts. Now, let's go to this morning, 7 a.m. This was yesterday. This morning, Akosombo is running 6 units, 804. So it's dipped from 900 and something to 804. Boom, GS is giving us 4 units, that's 145. TAPCO is giving us 248 megawatts of power. TICO, G4, G5 giving us 211. TP47 giving us 101. Senate, 0. Senate is not pulling any power for us. Same with Siemens, no power since yesterday. Asogli, 4 units, 327. T66, no power. Bui has come up from yesterday. It's now doing 1.5 megawatts of power. G4 is doing 2.5. Buntemal is doing 1. That's 103 megawatts of power. Agwaso is doing 141. Sen Power is doing 171. Car Power is doing 104. AXA is doing 60. Amandi is doing 155. Bridge Power is giving us nothing. Kalio Solar Power, even the solar power is now giving us 3 megawatts. Yesterday was 0. Gensa Power, 28. CIE 30 megawatts of power, CEB 64 megawatts of power, and Sonabil 144. Now it says all transmission lines are in service except J2K and F2Q lines. So this is what the sheets are showing. Courage, welcome back. The control room sheets, this is what they are showing. And you can hear the zeros in there. Means that we're not generating any powers. And even at Kosombo, for example, that's supposed to give us a little over 1,000. It's not giving us 800.
Let's say we have excess capacity.
Yesterday 900. Yes.
So what's happening to the excess capacity?
I'll come to you. Courage. Now you listen to these figures from authenticated sources that we have, and then you listen to the president, and then you ask yourself, what is the president's basis for suggesting that the thing is ending when in fact some of the plants are not even generating a single megawatt of power?
Okay, my brother, you see, you made a very important statement that when you were in school, I'm sure as part of your communication training, in terms of crisis management, you said that the pivotal thing in there is conduct.
That's right.
And I think that is what is missing from this administration. From everything that you're reading, we have excess installed capacity. So we don't need to bring up any new capacity for production. We are good. What is left is managing the capacity that has been installed to produce. And that is where they are failing at. And why are they failing? This is my suspicion. There is no gas. There's no gas because they don't have the money to buy it. There's no gas because they've not been able to pay for previously procured gas. Other than that, why are all these plants not working? Because gas is what they need to produce. Someone has got to come out and say that we are having this challenge. I remember the rhetoric, it's because the government doesn't have money to pay, 2016. So even though as at about December 2015, the installed capacity was there, the money, the hard currency to pay for gas so that you can produce was what was lacking. That is exactly where we are today, if you ask me. That is where we are. And someone has to come out. And that is an outworking of the general poor performance of the economy. You've not created jobs enough for people to work, to produce enough, to pay the taxes that will give you the revenues. You've not done that. You have choked yourself from borrowing from the international market, and you are no longer fit to borrow. You have again mismanaged the local funds and even the way you implemented this domestic debt exchange thing and choked yourself out of the domestic market.
I see. Okay.
The only option we have now is private capital. And there too, you are not credible because you are not paying your debtors. ECG, they brought up this cash waterfall system, right? That was supposed to ensure that whatever ECG collects, they're able to distribute it so that the producers get some, the people in the value chain get some adequate compensation.
That's right.
ECG has flouted on that, according to a PricewaterhouseCoopers audit report. So that is where the problem is.
I see.
And that is why the president's words mean nothing.
Okay. Prof, step in for me. You have been accused of procuring excess power at a cost that Ghanaians cannot pay. And that is a burden on Ghanaians. Where is the excess power?
we should be asking the government where the excess power. NAPO should be answering this question, right? But in any case, when you talk about excess power, if we're in doomsday and we give you excess power, right? You claim to be exporting power out of the country, right? What have you done innovatively to play around with this excess power, to actually regenerate some revenue, to see what you can do? But what I want us to do is, I think we're not having this debate rightly. Can we go to ECG? Right.
You call ECG?
No, I'm just saying, I'm trying to make a point. Can we go to ECG, right, and investigate the procurement culture over there?
At ECG?
At ECG. See what investments they have been involved with in the last 5 years or so.
To what end?
To juxtapose to see that whether liquidity issue is actually a problem, or whether priority spending is actually being done to maintain such transformers, to pay IPPs and the likes of that.
Do you suspect that ECG doesn't have a money problem, but they're just misusing what we give them?
Well, I think that it's about time we look at that. I'm not having any suspicion, but that's the way we can contextualize the debate very well, because it's more of a money debate. It's a capital issue, because if you owe your independent power provider, it means that you don't have the right money to pay. But day in, day out, there are procurement issues going on. What are these procurement issues going to? It's about time we look at this, right? We look at the Auditor General's report to see what has been happening at ECG. I think that it's about time we turn the critical lens to this critical institution.
It's a good call.
Yeah, mind you, there is a near monopoly in electricity supply in this country. Or we call it an oligopoly if we like, because it's a matter of what? ECG and NETCO.
All right.
For the north.
For the north and for the south.
For
ECG.
the south, yeah. So when you look at this, what it means is that customers have no choice. Consumers are not protected, right? In other jurisdictions elsewhere where you have multiplicity of power providers, if the cost of money, demand and supply plays a role, you switch to another supplier. But here we don't have that. So if we have a monopoly or duopoly or whatever it is, and yet they are not profitable enough to run this, and it's all about the money problem, then I think something fundamentally is wrong somewhere.
Okay.
Right, but in any case, what happened to ESLA as well?
Energy sector levy.
Right. Look at you could, after this show.
It was bastardized when we started it.
So go and look at how much of expenditure has gone in there, or in terms of revenue, and what they've done with it. Read the Public Sector Commission's report on state institutions and see the state of ESLA.
What does that say?
The very ESLA they bastardized.
What does that say to you of the government?
Yeah, I mean, it tells you that this is a government of that they cherry pick when it suits them, right? And I've always maintained that it's a government of PR.
Oh, how?
Yeah, because what has been done, I mean, the tangibles are not being felt. Let's recap, right? There are key projects or promises they came to power with were 1D, 1F, right? One village, one factory, one constituency, $1 million. What has happened to all of these things? 8 years down the line, the gestation period for a factory, right, from inception
scratch to finish
is about 5 years, right? And you probably need another 4 or 5 years to see whether there's returns. How many factories exist? So when I say a government of
in
PR,
progress, if you ask Courage, he will tell you that his boss, the former Minister for Trade and Industry.
I don't even want to, focus this debate on the Courage and his boss. I want us to look at it from a broader perspective.
Right.
So
on a national consensus. But then, of course, there was somebody involved. Who said, well, I championed A, B, C, and D factories.
Well, the point is, the internal politics I saw, and in how the president manages ministers in terms of favorites and those that could shower praise on him, and the reflection of how much he cherishes praise was reflected in his visit to the Gonja land when he had to command the chief to stand up to greet him.
I don't understand.
Right. What I'm saying is, I'm characterizing the president in how he appreciates praise singing and portrait of respect. So if you look at that and how he ran his government, I wouldn't want to single out some ministers to say this is what it was, knowing the trajectory and the history behind he and Alan.
We'll come to you. Right. Courage, step in for me. Ejisu, were you and your movement behind Mr. Diomi to, if you like, oust the NPP from Parliament in the concept of the Ejisu constituency?
Thank you. I think Alan Martin, when he pulled out of the election and launched the movement for change, indicated that as a movement, we're not going to sponsor parliamentary candidates. However, individuals are at liberty to be inspired by the move he has made to also go as an independent candidate if they find it necessary for themselves. And so, to the extent that Honorable Adiomi announced his exit from the party at the time as well, and took the inspiration to contest on the back of the good job that the people say he did when he was MP before the establishment went there with sacks of cash to boot him out in the primaries. It only sat well with some of us within the movement that he deserved the support necessary for him to succeed. Also because it is important that the establishment learns that you cannot do as you please and always just get away with it. And we saw the ugly face of the establishment in the way they went plain vote buying with new innovations to the extent that electorates are saying that they were offered weed, heroin, hard drugs, plus cash, in order that they can undertake some dastardly, disruptive activities in the polls. I am not saying it. It is the people who were offered who were saying that were offered these things. We have seen for the first time in the plain sight of media camera, a member of parliament bribing EC officials. And this is a government that claims to have performed, doing all of these ignoble things to win one by-election in its supposed stronghold. I think the verdict on the government is done. That the people are tired of the misgovernance. They are tired of the underdevelopment. They are tired of the deceit. For me, that is the takeaway from the Jisuba election.
Are you not taking it? Are you not taking it too simply because of the turn of events at Ejisu?
Oh, not at all. I mean, for an independent candidate to garner 40+% of votes in your stronghold as a party, I think that speaks volumes. For you to have had to literally, buy the elections at both electorate and referee levels. I mean, we only saw one thing that the MP for Kwadaso, Dr. Kingsley Nyako, did. Can you imagine the level of it? Over 204 polling stations. We can only imagine what happened at the other polling stations. And in that particular incident, we saw him invite the presiding officer over, have exchanges with him, close to a policeman. They move away from the policeman, get close to where the issuer of the ballot was.
Right.
And that is where the transaction was finalized. If this is not bribery, and if we had we're in any decent country, that person should be in court today. I mean, the MP. He should be in court today. Since yesterday was a holiday. The police should be updating us on efforts they have made to investigate further. Because where else did he go? The other MPs who were in the constituency, other party officials, where did they go? What happened to them? What did they do? Has the policeman who was at that particular station, has he been required to write a report? That is what we should be doing.
I see.
And this, I think, foreshadows or sends a foreshadow of why the government continues to say that it is possible.
Courage.
I think this is a foreshadow of why the party continues to go on that mantra that it is possible. Because indeed, it is possible to buy electorates. It is possible to bribe EC officials, to compromise elections, and to win without recourse to the law.
I see. Doc, sorry, Prof.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Now, your party did not participate in the Jisuba elections.
Yeah.
but you have, for some reason, found your way into the conversation. Because no less a person than the president mentions that, he's not sure if Honorable Diomi is being pushed by the umbrella or by Afrofront, or maybe he has put both of you together.
Yeah.
Right? He said it. And for it to have come from the lips of the president means that it is a conversation that's been had in the inner circles.
Should we not rather interpret it as how low the president can go?
I don't know what you think. Tell me.
That's very low of him. Ejiso is your bastion, right? Ejiso in Ashanti region is your bastion. So if you go to your bastion to campaign as president, it was very defeatist on his part to think that the umbrella and the butterfly are strong enough to invade his camp to do what he's alleging to have been done. So it means that he's weak on his own front. He's commander-in-chief. He's leader of his party, right? You go to the battlefront as general, and you are telling, like you're going to war. You reach the battlefront, and you tend to tell your troops that the enemy, or the two of the enemies have really converged, and they are trying to do A, B, C, D. That is defeatist. So what it invariably tells you is that the president has lost hope, right? They have given up. They have their hands in the air by this false accusation. But I think that was not a presidential comment to make. But you see, let's look at this.
Okay.
Let's analyze this.
Right.
We're talking about the independent candidate polling 21,536.
Right.
As against the winner, 27,782.
In this a short period.
Yes.
Of campaigning.
In this short period, right? An independent candidate, all of the state resources were marshaled towards Ejiso. Hardly do you see this in a stronghold or a bastion of a government. They don't do that, right? So what was happening? So what it means is that his own bastion, which is Ejiso, was neglected. Roads were being paved, right? All government appointees headed for Ejiso. The president himself had to be there to campaign. So it just tells you that they are holding on to every straw they can hold on to make a case. So for me, I think that Ejiso, as I say, is a vindication of what the people of Ghana has been complaining for far too long. And the maxed governance that they've given us, and which I describe as a governance of PR.
Did you see the envelope?
I saw it.
What ran through your mind?
Well, I mean, it's any concerned mind seeing this. Prima facie, it's evident that there was something untoward going on.
The EC says it's for lunch.
But who should, the EC, they were not provided lunch? Is he mandated to give them lunch? By our electoral laws, is he mandated to give them lunch? So you see, such lame excuses coming from an independent body that is meant to have an independent electoral process is worrying moving into 2024.
Courage says,
and these are some of the red flags that we ought to be raising against the Jane Mensa Man Electoral Commission.
Courage says, well, if we're in a serious country, the member of parliament would have been before a court today. But why must it be so fast?
Oh, but what happened to the train issue? Was the guy not whisked to court immediately and the matter died? So it tells you that our laws can be swift. Right? When the guy who crossed the train tracks, action was expedited. And immediately he was... it's not just the member of parliament.
Right.
Jane Mensa should be asking some questions.
What questions are these?
Right. Why are they providing lunch to officers you deployed?
An individual providing lunch. A conflicted individual with an interest in
an election, providing lunch in an envelope. If there's nothing wrong with that, give out naked cash. And we all know what it is. And you say this is lunch money. But in any case, that is like a very lame and disappointing excuse to have come from the EC. Yeah. And if these are the kind of excuses they would be giving, we have no confidence in them moving into the election.
The Afrofront seems to have won the hearts of the people of Ejiso because they were solidly behind Mr. Diomi. You did not participate in this by-elections, but you will participate in that of 2024, December 7th.
Yes, we did.
Are you not sure that this Butterfund movement will take the seat and then you have nothing to hold on to?
No, you see, you have to be strategic when it comes to politics. Anyone who is observing or have an optical eye on our political landscape as far as Ashanti region in and of itself is concerned would know that it's not our stronghold. We try to beef up our performance as best as we can. And the Ejusi seat in and of itself, if you look at the gaps, right, in terms of electoral victories or elections that have been held in time past. So why do we have to go and waste resources? Right, in the last by-election that we saw that we could pull out, we went all out, full throttle,
right,
and made a case, and we won. Right, in opposition, we won. So what it tells you is that the people of Ghana are validating the alternative that they think is scary for whatever reason, again, from a PR perspective.
Courage, I'll bring you into the conversation. Now we go and head towards 2024. And is Mr. Diomi going to be on your ticket, or is he going to still run independent and then you get to work with him after he has won the election or not?
I think he will continue to contest as an independent. I will urge him to put himself forward as an independent candidate. He's proven that he's got the hearts of the people, and that is what is most important. On the back of the experience from this, I'm sure lessons have been learned. He will do a few things differently, to ensure that he gives the now MP, whom he has, in a gentlemanly manner, congratulated, a good competition. So I would urge him to contest again. Like I said, I will re-echo what our principal, Alan Martin, said, that every individual is at liberty to be inspired by what he has done, by the agenda that he's on, to also put himself forward, so that we change the face of the politics. Whichever way you look at it, there is very little difference between the MPP and the NDC. If the 16 years appeal is anything to learn, they are literally two feathers of the same bird. So it's important that we undertake every necessary action to change, and to do so peacefully and democratically. And I think that is the importance of what the movement for change is doing. Providing Ghanaians a non-violent opportunity, a non-violent alternative to change these two dominant parties, like we have seen in Benin, and now they're enjoying good transformational development. Alan is the man. He has a plan, he has the capacity, he has the integrity to make sure that politics yields results for the ordinary man to move this country from poverty to prosperity.
Courage. Increasingly, you see people on tape, and they don't shy away from it, telling people who go to campaign to them, or if you like, members of parliament, interested parties, that until you give us money, we are going nowhere to vote for you. In terms of electoral reforms, what do you say?
Yeah, thank you. I think it is one of the things that is creeping in from the delegate system that the parties practice. We have seen delegates take huge sums of money. I mean, in the MPP super delegates, in the hundreds of thousands of cities, and in the main delegate selection, money. And we saw different values, different amounts, but across the parties. I think the first thing that a proper political reform that will tackle this will look at is disbanding this delegate arrangement. When that is done, it will now bring to the fore issues of bread and butter and capacity for the ordinary person to decide. And at that point, we'll begin to see it reflect in the general population. Because now they think that delegates are some few people, you are going to pay them. So if you pay the few people to get their mandate, if you want our mandate, then pay us too. Because you are not getting any dividends from you going to parliament or from you being in power. It is suffering that is on us. So I take that. So it is a symptom of the misgovernance that we have had. I can assure you, if we get a government that is responsive to the needs of the people, that delivers, proper transformation to the people, all of this will be a thing of the past.
Great. Prof, now your party chairman, Nasirun Kitia, he says, look, we are going into an election, the party in power, they have looted cash, and that's what they are going to count on. I just asked Courage a question about people demanding inducements before they go and vote. From where you sit, what reforms can we have so we can rearrange the people's minds that, this is not really about how much money, but then it's about the quality of person you're taking there.
I'm one of the key advocates of this, and I was just having an engagement with a civil society organization yesterday all about electoral party funding. If you look at the scandals, all the procurement scandals of SMLs and what have you that has happened in time past, you trace the historical antecedents of these issues, and most of these scandals, they are tied to elections because politicians want to have their political engine oiled, because we don't have limits on party spending and campaigneering budgets. So which is why I have been advocating that the EC should put capping limits to say, okay, as a member of parliament, you can't spend above 100,000 USD in an election throughout the electoral period, right? If you raise funds, and it's in excess of the 100K USD,
right,
X has to be done with it. Your spending budgets and audit ought to be done as well. Your source of funding has to be declared. Such that, we know where $20,000 came from. We know where $10,000 came from. We know where $500,000 came from. So such a time that at the time of filing, all of these audited accounts of fundraiser should be declared before you get on the ballot.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, but this is one thing we ought to be doing.
We all need to do it.
And I was thinking that Courage and Co., since they want to change, or they are riding on the wave of change, they should have started by declaring their source of funding as a new political party, an entity. So you see, when you are going through an election, it's just not for victories, for reforms as well. So I'm encouraging the Butterfly family to start by declaring that since we are a new party, this is how we raise our funds. This is how our MPs are going to be financed. And they become a model and a case study for majority of us to see and actually use as a blueprint for the kind of confidence we want to see in our electoral process as far as election issues. But what I tend to back what the chairman, General Mosquito, has said, right? All of it is looted cash. So if they're giving it to you,
from where?
We all know where it's coming from. We all know where it's coming from, right? And they've already even started the campaign so early because they have so much to spend, right? They are in campaign mode already, trying to sprinkle money around town. So if you are a citizen and they come and give you, take it, but know where your conscience is and know the kind of change you want. That's all General is saying.
Courage.
That's what General says.
Courage, I'm sure you've heard Prof. Prof insists that, look, declare your sources of funding first, then we can take you serious. Literally. What do you say?
Sincerely, I think it's a good call. Of course, if you are championing change, you must reflect change. And that is why we have reflected change in the way we communicate our policies. We've put a plan forward. We're asking them to respond to it. But it is also an admission on his part that both the MPP and the NDC are from the same pot. They are very much alike, and they are not capable of change. They don't have the capacity to demonstrate the change that is even required in the electoral system. And so for me, that is a good admission on Paul's part. And his call is very well heard. We'll add it to the plethora of changes that already we have been demonstrating in the way we do and organize and mobilize for this election.
Great. Mayday, let me start that conversation with you. In the Ashanti region, for example, the ECG staff walked off the grounds because they did not agree with the minister, number one, that he had arrested one of their staff who was doing his legitimate work, and police are currently investigating him. They think that the man is being intimidated, and all of them, so that they can stop their work. Mayday, what do you say?
I think it is becoming just a repetitive show of nothing. And I think Labour itself must begin to do an introspection to find out whether, they've been able to put up the advocacy that is needed to protect the average Ghanaian worker. From us at the Movement for Change, we are saying that we want to promote a government of national unity. In that government of national unity, Labour will have a seat at the decision-making table. Labour or workers will be at the very center of that. So it is not that they sit down, bear the brunt of our policies, and then go and shout on the rooftop. They will be part of the decision making, just as traditional authorities, just as religious bodies and the clergy, so that just as students, so that we can begin to foster, national policies that are in the very interest of this. I don't think Labour has any expectation from these two political parties, because the issues are way too similar and way too repetitive. But what we are promising Labour is that you will be at the very table where all the decisions are made, so that it's not that policies should be passed and slapped on you, but be part of the formulation of the policy, so that we can take care of ourselves collectively, which is what governance should be about. And of course, in Alante Martin, they have a president who they can trust. In Alante Martin, you have a president you can trust.
Okay.
Because he has lived it, he has demonstrated it, that he is credible.
Thank you, Courage.
Thank you.
Doc, Prof, what do you think of this ECG staff walking off and literally calling the snub of the Ashanti regional minister, who has refused to apologize to them for whatever happened?
Yeah, but that's what's happened. And for me, again, this is where the leadership crisis lies. You remember back in the few weeks ago, ECG had gone to disconnect the lights at Parliament.
Right.
What was that for? This is where when I talk about PR raises. So when we take PR to even important state institutions, has Parliament settled that bill? No. But power has been restored. So what was that shenanigan for? So when you do some of these things, it's an insult to the people. So when you go and a minister or a politician disrespects you, you lose the sort of sympathy that the public would have given you. So they should stop playing shenanigans with us and let's support each other to ensure that the right thing is done. Much as I sympathize with them, they should ensure that the right is done. So when their leader or my MD goes playing shenanigans or theatrics with national issues, they should stand up to him first. And when they're able to do that, every politician would know that we take them seriously.
Their salaries, they say everything has gone up except their salaries.
Yes.
And they have been asking. We've been told we are not in normal times, we're in a difficult place, we are turning the corner, we are not out of the woods. That's all we are told. But then they say, look, we see you and we see how you are chilling. Let us chill small, we too.
You see, it's not only ECG, right? Ask your friends and peers.
And I'm asking this on behalf of workers.
Yeah, that's why I'm coming to.
Workers
Workers that used to enjoy allowances. I'll take an example like banks. Within the banking sector, clothing allowance and what have you. I speak to a few of them and they tell me these days we don't look forward to the allowances. I said, why? Because it's taxed at 25%.
What?
It's taxed at 25%.
The allowance?
Allowances, clothing allowance and what have you. Ask any bank worker.
Even before they start using the money to acquire their clothes or whatever it is.
Yes. So this is what we are faced with, right? Ask bank workers. So people are it's just that the country is under siege and people don't want to talk because of victimization and what have you. Right. So if this is happening, how can even increment in salaries whatsoever, which is very insignificant, make a difference? And mind you, cost of living is going high. Right? Just few months ago, even those of us that are frequent flyers, they've gone after us by saying that we will be charging $20 for round trips for conveyor belt maintenance at the airport, when you have not done any expansion at the airport. Just yesterday or 2 days ago, I think I was trying to get a visa on arrival for a family friend.
All right.
Few hours down the line, I got a call back and said, boss, we are changing the rates effective tomorrow.
When you had already applied?
Yes. So what is happening is that we've been overtaxed such that the revenue stream, there's nothing in the pot or the kitty, and what we do is now we keep increasing the existing tax handles that we already have or source of taxes. But what I keep saying, Johnny,
right,
which you may agree or disagree with me,
okay,
the greatest tax revenue in this country is the informal sector.
I agree.
So I'm looking forward to the day where a miniature of a company such as SML would be created to say that we are going into the informal sector to ensure, or in collaboration with the Ghana Statistical Service and other stakeholders to ensure that we get maximum of 70% taxes from the informal sector and see whether this economy would function or not. But we rather go for low-hanging fruits. What does it take to collect taxes from the extractive sector when the laws governing this sector already make them low-hanging fruits? So let's tackle those we are struggling to get, not those that are low-hanging fruits. And this is the problem with this government.
I see. Dr. Bawumia started his campaign.
Yeah.
You're happy about it, aren't you? You're happy for him. He's been speaking. He says, well, Doomsor will stop very, very soon. Get hope and be very hopeful. He says the economy. He speaks about a lot of things. Is he not a thorn in the flesh of the NDC?
How is he a thorn in the flesh of the NDC? You listen to that Professor Nana Jane's speech. I describe that speech as the state of the nation that has been unspoken for the last 7 years or so. She summed it all up. Right. So why should we fear Dr. Bawumia, the very man, again, who is superintending over low-hanging innovations? Right? By low-hanging innovations, I mean, you're talking about a tracker, right? In an IT world or an innovative world, you're talking about a tracker that is even faulty enough, that has not been proof tested. Is that how you innovate? To advertise your own achievements? Again, they talk about, blue ocean economy, sustainability issues. Yet you are slapping diesel-powered trains on our tracks. Where's the sustainability element? You are going around town commissioning astroturfs. Where's the sustainability element? So, I don't know what this government is all about. And, the hero in Bawumia, they advertised in the run-up to the election, where an artificial academic platform was created at Central University College, chaired by Professor Yanka.
And it was him speaking to students.
It was him speaking
to students of Central University.
They called a public lecture back then, where he used to do all of these issues, providing or offering solutions. Why are the solutions not working? Chair of the Economic Management Committee. For the first time in a long while, the central bank posted losses. Under him, the central bank posted losses. Right? Domestic debt exchange. We are still dealing with our external debtors. IMF, right? We've never, ever had a difficulty with accessing IMF loans like this current one, which has distorted the market. Why do I say this, Johnny? Usually when we're on a program, it helps in a way to stabilize or sanitize the market. So apart from the program, business people that are savvy would watch when a tranche is being paid. Because when the tranche hits the central bank's account, what happens is that it stabilizes the cedi. So businessmen that were holding Forex would rush the market to either expand their businesses or bring in new stock. What has happened? We're not consistent with when a tranche was coming or not. Months went past, so the market became very disrupted. So you see the cedi galloping and not performing. It's not getting any better.
But I thought that we had arrested the dollar and given the keys to the IGP.
You should go back for the keys. We talk about cocoa syndicated loan.
Right.
This was something we never cracked a sweat. Right? We had banks or investors chasing us to do this. Today, what's happening to CocoaBot? No investor wants to even touch us with a 6-foot pole. So it tells you how or what the situation is like. Back in the day, we used, or families, middle-class families used treasury bills, investments, to pay kids' fees and other family expenditure that came extra. Today, can they do that? Can they do same? So this is how died the economy. So if he's going around crisscrossing the country, he should be admitting and apologizing to the people and asking for a chance. There's nothing for him to advertise as an achievement.
There's a lot. The vice president talks about digitalization.
Oh, but the driver's mate could digitalize, but could not fix the economy.
Oh, but he was not in charge. That's what he says.
But he was in charge of digitalization. So when it comes to digitalization, he can take credit. But when it comes to the economy, he cannot take credit. Where from this? He's talking about tax amnesty, talking about flat rates of taxation, comparing us to Estonia. Estonia is a country of 1.2 to 4 million people.
Right.
With a structured system. You are comparing it to a country of 30 plus million people with an unstructured economy where majority of these people are within the informal sector. What kind of a comparison is this?
You're failing to see the good things that have been done by the government.
What are they? Agenda 111? that we are still struggling with. Johnny, last I checked, you can get your production team. There were just about, I think, 3 MRI machines in this country as far as Medicare is concerned. That is improvement for the last 8 years. Dialysis machines, go to regional hospitals and what have you. That is improvement. So these are the basic things that we need to. If you're going for low-hanging taxes within the extractive sector, go after low-hanging fixing of our medical and educational sector.
But Dr. Bamia says when it comes, some of the taxes will go. So it's not about low-hanging taxes.
I mean, someone who went to cut cake for e-levy is now speaking in this tone. He should have stopped, or where he should have proven that he had the strength to stop nuisance taxes is to speak against e-levy. I mean, look, Johnny, you had no idea what this has done. I met a very high-earning family, which you would classify as not just middle class, but high middle class, living within Laboni Cantonment's enclave. We had a transaction. So I asked, do I have to put the money into your account? It was quite bulky. You know what they told me?
No.
They told me if I put the money in there, there's a 3% charge, right? If I did an electronic transfer, there's a 3% charge that would reduce the worth of their money.
Of their own money.
Of their own money. So I should give the money to them in cash.
Whoa. And these are learned people.
Learned people. I wouldn't have expected that to come from them.
But because of the service, the charges.
The charges.
3% of whatever
3%.
It is that you're putting, will be taken.
Will be taken.
And taken where?
I have no clue. So these are things happening within the economy. And when people respond or consumers respond in this fashion, revenue is going to decrease from the side of the government. So there is overtaxation, right? And under services and under production in this country, as far as government is concerned. So where is all the money going to? These are the fundamental questions we should be asking. But there's a haste, or they are in an indecent haste to have sole source contracts all over the place without clear justification. Look at the madness we are seeing with SML. Right, so are they saying that GRA workers or the stakeholders involved of the upstream sector, which is Petroleum Commission, and the downstream sector, which is MPA, right, cannot collaborate among themselves to effectively collect this revenue? We need to outsource this and pay X millions.
We call it revenue assurance.
Yeah, so what it means is that we don't even have confidence. And now the irony is that the president...
You teach accounting and finance. The state government says revenue assurance.
What revenue assurance? They should justify that to us, right? For a thing that even didn't go through proper tender process but sole sourcing. So you're trying to correct an anomaly, and you're using an anomaly to correct an anomaly. And then you even realize that with what the irony of...
Needs assessment was not done.
Yes, the irony of all of this is that now you're using another accounting firm, a big four accounting firm, KPMG, to go after the very institution that you said was going to provide auditing and assurance, right? And they produce a report to you. And if there's nothing to hide in this report, why not make it public? You are cherry picking and then feeding the public as to what you want to.
I see.
And even look at what is happening within GRA in and of itself. Backdating letters, board dissolved. So now I even ask the fundamental question, who Johnny, I entreat the media to champion, is the current commissioner in acting capacity? Because at the time of her appointment, there was no functional board to have rectified. Right. So is she in acting capacity?
She's 61.
And she's 61. So again...
Going on to 62.
Again, it derails the confidence, right, in the well-meaning senior managers of the place. So are they trying, or is the president trying to say there was no senior manager at GRA who was under 40, or who is 40, or who is 50, equipped enough, or in the years of training and service they've dedicated to this pristine institution, are qualified enough to handle that role?
It looks like then nothing really is working in this
country.
I don't know why you'd want to say that.
I mean, it's about what? There's zero corporate governance in all of this. And if you read SML's webpage, they say they adhere to, they ensure corporate governance practices.
Right.
Yet you look at what happened within the entire architecture that led to the award of the contract, and there's zero corporate governance in it. And all of the things they talk about in terms of optimization, real-time monitoring, and what have you, the ports are able to do that.
How's President Mahama responding to Dr. Bawumia's campaign launch?
Well, I mean,
he's been doing his thank you tour.
Yeah, he's been doing his thank you tour, as you realize.
All of that.
Yes.
Yes, but how is he responding to Dr. Bawumia's
We are not
campaign?
firefighting. We have a structured campaign. In due course, President Mahama would come out to give a befitting response, not just to Dr. Bawumia, a befitting response that makes the alternative the reality.
He has his running mate.
He does.
He has hit the ground running. This is about the second time he has done a nationwide tour. First was a thank you tour. Now he says the fact finding.
But you realize that all of these were stakeholder engagements.
Right.
They were not really campaigning.
And Dr. Bawumia says he will do the same thing. So
he says he's launched a campaign.
Well,
he has a whole campaign team. He has spokespersons within his campaign team. So how is that at all? It's a full throttle campaign that has gone into overdrive. Right? And you see where I say Ghanaians are forgiving always of this government. Nothing against Charles Bissio, but looking at everything surrounding him. I saw him in frontline photos with Dr. Bawumia in the Western region. If this had happened in the NDC and you have the like of him before a Mahama campaign, the whole country would have gone haywire over this.
You think Ghanaians are more soft in terms of dealing with the NPP than the NDC?
I don't want to say they are more soft, possibly because the NPP government is more intimidating than any other government.
I don't get you.
Right. The country, and I say the country is under siege. Some people can speak. Pastors who used to have a voice can speak. Right? I don't know if they still continue to watch their cartoons. I don't know about that. Civil society organizations who used to speak hard and strong, right, are no longer speaking. Why is that? So it tells you that invariably there's a level of intimidation in the system. People, I mean, when we even talk about 61, what did not happen to them, the Auditor General? A green letter emanated from the presidency asking him to proceed on leave. Because he was due for retirement and was within the statutory retirement age. And now you go around to appoint someone who is within or above even that age to be Commissioner General of GRE. So it's like they take us for granted.
Really?
Yeah. Johnny, what else could it be?
I'm trying to piece everything together where there's a certain different tone that the vice president's campaign team, along with him, he wants to be president though, that they have, different from what's on the ground. Yesterday I was talking to some NAPCO people who were telling me that, Charlie, now it looks like we have been abandoned, because even when
the Secretariat
officialdom speaks, we are not mentioned, but we are old, and it looks like
they shut the office. There's no NAPCO anymore. Do they have a CEO? There's no CEO. There's no staff. Drive pass at cantonments.
But Dr. Anyas is part of the campaign.
The campaign team. So now he's more useful to a campaign rather than to NAPCO KDACOR. That's what they've tried to make it look like. So, and this is where the kids had, when we were all speaking against NATCO and calling it duplication, but look at the amount of monies that went. And Johnny, what we fail to realize is that when you look at social vices and the likes of that, we have different character elements. When someone starts to earn a living and it abruptly stops, you have no idea, right? The kind of ideas that can go into this person's head to earn a living. And this is what we've done to these kids. We've not trained them. We've not equipped them with anything. They were earning something little and abruptly it stops. What do we expect them to do?
92.7.
And these are issues that have tendency of feeding into social vices.
Okay. Doc, listen to Dr. Mensah Otabil.
Prayerfully consider this not only at one time, but every election time. Your vote should not be fixed. Your vote is always an expression of a proposal that is in agreement with you. So you may support a party 1 year and not support them another year. You may support a candidate 1 year and not support him or her another year, because the proposal they put on the table this time is not in your best interest. If every Ghanaian thinks like that, our politicians will stop distributing T-shirts and making songs and giving money and playing games with our minds. They would know they have a people who respect their vote. That is a sacred responsibility. And anytime they go to that ballot box, they are there to think of their hopes and aspirations and the aspirations of the nation, and they want a better life for themselves. I pray God helps you, God guides you, and God leads you in this process.
Instructive Statements by Pastor Mental Isabel.
Yeah.
Your vote is important.
When was this?
This was about 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
I want to hear such voices on our airways again.
But why?
Oh, but are things okay? Things are not okay. And this is the time we need this critical voice. So I'm entreating the revered pastor to come out again, reiterate these words. He shouldn't change them. Reiterate them within the very context we find ourselves in and the exigencies of the moment, and see whether it will have impact or not.
What will happen if he decides to
speak?
Yes.
Yeah, because people listen to him. He's got a large following. Right? And these are the same voices that has been missing in the last 7 to 8 years, which is what I'm saying, or when I say the country is under siege, I mean that it's under siege. Why are we not hearing these critical voices? Everything okay? Are you not experiencing doom, sir?
The president has assured me that it will go away.
It will go away. When the very moment he was speaking, some of us were experiencing doom, sir.
Local transformation.
So you see, when I talk about, in all of these things, look around. We have the eye, you and I, you and Jono, right? Internationally, we have the eye. We see Baumia's campaign spending a lot on, or investing on PR. The trip to Rome, right? What's part of the PR?
Right. Do you have a problem with that too?
I don't have a problem with that. What I'm saying is
that the vice president as a Muslim is meeting the Pope.
No, not a Muslim. Let's not look at it from a religious perspective.
But the vice president has said
the priority of campaigning.
Right. But the vice president has said that, look, I want the chance to unite Muslims and Christians.
I'll give you a cue, right? Okay. When you're watching the video, there's a chap there, right, who's an international journalist. Right, who seemed to be doing international PR for them, or who seemed to have facilitated.
He was in the frame.
In the frame, watch them closely. I have his name. I'll give that.
But the vice president says that, look, we want to unite Christians and Muslims. He's a unifier.
That's okay. I welcome that. Right, Christian-Muslim dialogue. As someone who grew up, in a Muslim home where these were promoted, and I think that we should foster.
But have we ever been apart, Muslims and Christians?
Was he confident enough to give an update of the National Cathedral to the Pope, or would he have been confident enough to give an update of the National Cathedral to the Pope?
But if it was not on the performance tracker, why would you think he would mention that to the Pope?
Yeah, so I think that because that means that there's something fundamental wrong. Somewhere.
The project has not been completed.
Yeah, but it was started.
Right.
State resources were pumped into it. Homes of judges were destroyed. Look, Johnny, that's a very sentimental issue. I visited an appeals court judge 3 days in his home before the demolition exercise happened. And what happened where they took him, they rented a party Apparatchik's home, who was a former minister, in cantonment around the gaming commission, and put him up there. How secured is, or what's the security? Because you are living in a rented house where your landlord keeps the spare keys or would have access to it, and this is a court of appeals judge, and you turn around and probably give him or her a police officer that you are paying. I mean, what's the thinking to all of these things? You destroyed homes. Those homes were under 10 years old. They were built anew. You bring all of this to zero. Right? Paid architectural firms, monies. Again, why are all of these religious leaders that were championing it not speaking to it? When the Reverend Kusibuati issues on all of these things emanate,
well, a few of them have
resigned, but that was too little, too late. Too little, too late. Because look, the very reason why we welcome religious leaders in society is for them to be a voice of reason. So if they are no longer the voice of reason that we used to have of yesterday, then there's a problem somewhere. And you see, let me sound this caution to all of us, including myself. You can't insulate from the system, right? And I say the very moment we failed as a society is when we build high walls that consume our beautiful homes. Who are we running away from? The very society we've created, or the monstrous society we've created? So if you think you're a politician, you've built high walls, your kids are going to drive through these very people you're insulating from to school, to the malls to shop, to seek Medicare, or to the airport to fly out for holidays. So there's nothing like insulation. So let's work together and fix a bare minimum for our own people. And this is what the NDC government is championing.
Doc, we have to wrap up this conversation, but the takeaway points, if I hear you right, you say the president should have thought very well about what the people are feeling before he he came out to make those statements about Dumso being,
the pulse
not coming
of the country
back.
was not tested.
He wasn't testing that. Yeah. And then we talk about labor. The workers are not happy, and you think that the whole entire labor force have been disrespected. Yeah. Don't be any candor. Then we go to Ejuso, and it's literally the same issues that you talk about. Are we suggesting that all through is just disrespect, arrogance, greed, corruption, all of that is running nothing good?
It's a cocktail of all of what you've mentioned. If there's anything good, we'll talk about it. There's not been continuity even in this government. E-blocks were abandoned. And we turn around to say we're having track systems where kids go to school for a week and return. Should I praise that? Should I praise the fact that we're going to paint schools in MPP colors?
No, it's blue and white. There's no red.
Well, but in near MPP colors, let me correct myself. Why blue and white? What's the rationale? What thinking went into the minister's head?
White is for purity, blue
I'm
is
thinking
life.
that his priority should be us getting on PISA rankings to test our literacy and numeracy skills. That should be his priority, quality of education. Why go around paint institutions and change uniforms? Right? We are just investing. Like, I should praise the fact that we are buying past papers for kids when these things should even be uploaded in a so-called digitalization that Dr. Baumia is doing. Why wouldn't he digitalize past papers for kids to use rather than spending government expenditure? So you see, this whole thing is a sham. It's a charade.
Your Accra Digital Center.
Who built it?
It's in the performance tracker.
But who built it?
Did you build it?
Mahama built it.
But it's in the performance tracker.
Yes, in the performance tracker. So it tells you how deceptive the performance tracker is.
But maybe some things were added.
What?
I don't know.
Right? When we finished, look at all of the investment projects we've had. Circle interchange. Right? What has it not done? Great work. Abuaze is paying itself off. T3 at the airport, paying itself off. The very T3 that we built, you are now charging a round trip on customers' heads for $20 just to fix conveyor belts.
Has it been commissioned yet, the T3?
Terminal
3. Has it been commissioned yet?
Well, it's been functional for years now. So
But I don't remember any commission.
I don't know, but that tells you how petty the government can be if we can't even remember any of these things. And I remember when it rained the first time.
Right.
And these things come with new buildings, and there was a bit of flooding in there. They tried to make negative reportage on that, but it's been raining since. Have we had that?
Doc, we'll have to pack it here.
Right, Cater Port, they promised. What has happened? The good people of Cape Coast Airport, what has happened? Commander Sugar Factory. I drove through there 3 days ago. It's abandoned. This is pettiness. Like, what is it? You see the failure, the greatest failure we've made, as far as Commander is concerned, which history would never forgive us. Right, is that it's not even like a greenfield. Right? There was an existent factory there before, so it's been proven and tested. And when that happened, I spoke to a few community members who told me, look, at the time the factory existed, in years back or time past, land was prime in Commander. There were auxiliary industries such as alcohol, paper, molasses, and the likes of that. What is this creating? Employment. So if this happened years ago and under the 21st century government, you couldn't pull it off on a factory that has been proven and tested, because you don't need to. You're not risking.
You didn't have the raw materials. They are now trying to.
So back in the day when it was profitable, what was happening? Where were they getting the raw materials from? So now sugarcane is being sold to alcohol manufacturing companies, and we have it lying there. And this is where Courage and his boss has some questions to answer when he was trade minister, what he did with the sugar factory.
Dr. Sharif Mahmud Khalid, grateful that you could speak with us. He's an associate professor of accounting and finance. He's also a member of the NDC's economic and finance communications team. Thank you very much, Doc, for your time.
Right,
we appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
thanks for having me.
Thank you. And if you don't understand, your light goes off, you can go and hug a transformer.